Buenas tardes, señor y señorita. Habla español. Today, we are going to do a word in Spanish. Random Spanish word generator from getrandomthings.com. It will generate a word. Let's see what we have here. Medida, measurement. Medida, measurement. There are many different systems of measurement, but the first widespread known type of measurement was called the cubit. Invented over 5,000 years ago, this measurement was the length from one's elbow to the edge of their extended fingertips. That was called a cubit. Now, people today might say if they multiply something by itself 3 times, they are cubing it. If we skip forward a little bit in time, we have a unit of weight called the mina that was used first by the Babylonians and then the Hittites, the Phoenicians, the Assyrians, the Egyptians, the Hebrews, and the Greeks. This was a weight measurement, originally about 640 grams and later on about 978 grams. And in ancient Canaan, or the area where the Hebrews had settled at the time, the sacred mina was about 60 shekels, which ended up being the monetary system later on. And later on, another system based off the mina was established called the talent. As the mina was based off of money, at this point, literally, if you had money, you had talent. As time moved forward, there are a lot more advancements in the field of different types of measurements from the Greeks, the Romans, the Chinese, medieval Europe, and then we skip ahead several hundred years. During the American Revolution, taxation was a major problem, and taxation was based oftentimes on volume and weight. And there was a lot of discrepancy upon what weight was as defined by different systems of measurement around Europe. The colonists said to themselves, desperate times call for desperate measures. And 30 years after the Revolution, approximately, they created a new system that was kind of based off what the UK originally had, the imperial system, and then came the creation of the United States customary systems of weight and measures, what we use in the US today. Now, many of you know about many of the common ones, so I'll talk a little bit about some of the uncommon ones. There are a stone, which is about 14 pounds. There's troys, there's apothecaries. All of these are like really unusual and strange things, so it's worth checking them out sometime. It's kind of cool to see a comparison. Like, for example, if you're talking about, I want to go sailing one day, a nautical mile is longer than a mile by about 800 feet. So, I mean, that's something that's kind of cool to know. What a fathorn is. Some of these names are really weird. I don't know why they're called that, but, you know, interesting thing to look at. On the other side of the world, as in, I don't know, every country except for the United States, we have the metric system, which was really centralized during the French Revolution. They got some other weird ones as well. You know, we're not the only ones in the world that have weird measurements. They got the coulomb, they have the farad, they have the ohm, and my favorite, the amp, which is a measurement of electricity, and I'm really amped up for the next thing I'm going to talk about. There is a startling and yet amazing thing that happened this year in the field of measurement or metrology. The International System of Units, otherwise known as the metric system, has always been based off physical objects. In fact, every single type of measurement in the metric system was based off a physical object. Until now, when they've gone down to one single measurement, the kilogram, that was still based off a physical object. As of next year, due to the voting from the scientific community, the kilogram will be redefined. It's currently defined by the weight of a platinum-based ingot, which is a piece of metal called Le Grand K, which is locked away in a safe in Paris, behind closed doors, in a temperature-controlled room, with a lot of other security measures. But people have decided that we can't keep basing a weight on a physical object. So it will no longer be based on that. And how a kilogram is calculated and measured is going to be completely changed. I think this is a very interesting concept. Please click the link below if you want to see it. I highly recommend it. Every measurement that I have talked about so far is quantifiable. It's numerical. It's quantitative. How do you measure metaphysical measurements? How much love you have in your heart, the kindness and gratitude expressed towards others, your talent. For those of you unfamiliar with the term metaphysical, it refers to something that can't be seen, that is usually an abstract concept, and it defies what we know as the laws of nature and physical matter. This video, I wanted to focus on measurement, so I might as well go the extra mile and talk about some stuff that can't usually be measured, but can be measured in the metaphysical sense.
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me.
How do you measure love? What is love? Is it quantifiable? No. So, how do you make a measurement of it? Love, among other emotions, is not measured using tools like we do in most types of measurement science, but by measuring emotions throughout chemical processes in the brain, as well as the actions that people take. Specifically on the topic of love, we can analyze a couple different references of research papers published in the 1990s and the 2000s. The first one was by G.D. Chapman and talked about the 5 love languages, how to express heartfelt commitments to your mate. Now, he had stated that there's 5 different broad classes of behaviors that signify love. Words of affirmation, spending quality time, giving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. So apparently, if you buy your mate a lot of physical gifts, that means you love them. I think that just means that you're their sugar daddy. There are 2 last measurements that I would like to cover that fall both in the metaphysical field and in the quantifiable field. Those are space and time. Full speed ahead, Mr. Sulu.
Space, the final frontier.
Space is enormous. Many people say it's immeasurable how gigantic our universe actually is, but scientists and mathematicians have come together to create several different ways to measure how big and how far away everything is in space. They use different techniques including trigonometry, parallax, standard candles, supernova brightness, galaxy redshifts, the triangle theory, a lot of really interesting ideas that are way above my level of knowledge to explain. Time is another concept that's utilized in measuring distance in space. There's a time to be born and a time to die. Time is not only utilized for distance, though. Time is something that human beings are obsessed with. How much time do we have on this planet? How old is the universe? How much time do I have left in my life? And not just that, but talking about specific moments in time. What happened 5 years ago? What will happen 10 years in the future? How can I be on time to my next interview? Those kind of things are constantly going around in the human mind. Now, we can measure time with different scientific theories, but quite honestly, it's something I think that human beings will always have a hard time understanding. That is, until we figure out time travel. Just remember, do not step on butterflies. I am Random Carlos. Hasta luego, mis amigos.
Upside, inside.